across boundaries, tribes, religions, ethnicity. If we could have more of this kind of a movement, ideology, and philosophy, the world would be a better and safer place. So I'm honored to be here today.
It is now my honor to request our brother, who is our keynote speaker today, and whom all of us, including our own followers on YouTube, to give his remarks. Commander.
Okay, thank you very much. I greet you all, the governor, all professors, DC. Thank you very much for having us. When we are in the continent and in the Lukenya University, there's no difference between being in Cape Town and Johannesburg. Because for me, the whole of Africa is my home, and therefore do not feel like we are meeting with strangers or anything of that sort. We just happen to be on the other side of our own home. And nothing wow about it, nothing spectacular about it. It must become a normal way of living. That you just wake up and feel like going to Tanzania, you go to Tanzania, you feel like without boundaries, without visas, without anything, because this is our home. In Europe, they can wake up in Italy and then go and eat lunch in London without any problem. But we have been subjected to artificial borders, which create an impression that we're different people when we're not. Because all of this was during the scramble of Africa. But otherwise, Africa is a country, it's not even a continent. We are one. Those who wanted to plunder our resources and exploit them are the ones who decided to divide us. So this Pan-African Institute seeks to undo that and make Africa to be one. So every initiative of this nature that says people must come together and embrace each other and embrace humanity should be supported. It can be seen as a small initiative, but it's one step in the right direction, where people are saying it is enough now, we need to come together. And we do that in an university through an institute, because a lot of things that, amongst many things that were deprived of, is the intellectual capacity of Africans to think on their own. That every intellectual who happens to be so sharp gets expropriated by Europe, America, to go and do the intellectual work on the other side, and then get deported to us as if it's something from outside Africa. But when you follow up with the origin of these ideas, you find that these ideas are the brainchild of Africans who were taken from us into the world. So we need an institute that will develop ideas from here in Africa. Because when we speak of any other resource, it can never be realized for as long as there are no ideas. So we must first have ideas and sharpen them. And then from there go and protect our ideas with a well thought of process which comes from an institute like the Pan-African Institute. So we're going to support it in South Africa, not only through our commitment both in human resource and in capital, also its offices in South Africa, not in the EFF offices, in a proper independent offices where everyone who can make a contribution should go and make a contribution. So that this Pan-African Institute can find its feet everywhere in the 54 countries of Africa. So we must take a first step. We don't have resources, we don't have money, we don't have that, but there is a political will. And for as long as there is a political will, there will be a way to ensure that the institute exists in South Africa. And we encourage many other progressive Pan-Africanists in the continent to host this institute and make sure it has got all the necessary resources to continue the intellectual work, to continue research, to continue advising us on what are the possible solutions confronting the African continent. What I like the most about this institution is that it says Africans are not only those that are found in Africa. Anyone who looks like me and you, found all over in the world, in the diaspora, be it in Caribbean, be it in Sao Paulo, be it in America, be it in China. Everyone who looks like us is treated the same way we are treated. And therefore we ought to be one with them. The Haiti people are us, and therefore can't say because of geography, we don't want to associate with them. Anyone who is an African found anywhere should find resonance and see the Pan-African Institute as a whole, and they must all support it. So we're calling on the continent and the diaspora to support this institution. We're here to launch it, and it must live for many more years to come. We thank Prof for his initiative, because if it was not Prof, we were not going to come in the manner we did. But because Prof is not a political leader of a political party, when you are called by him, you know that it's not political affiliation. It's a political, ideological engagement which seeks to sharpen the ideas that emanate from the continent. So Prof is leading that way, like many others. Julius Malema have tried and left it, where we must then take it up and continue this debate. And I think Prof. Piero Lumumba is doing exactly that. Is moving in the same. And when they passed on, they said the future generation must the struggle, and he's doing that. The unity of Africa is very important, because Africa is one. And that's all. Thank you.
Afrika moja, Afrika moja,
Afrika huru.
So thank you, members of the. Thank you, Commander. You have given, I think, a focus, especially for those who are not aware. They are now aware. Can we appreciate him once more? Secondly, members of the Fourth Estate, if there is any question you would want to put to Commander and even PLO and even the governor is now. Once we go outside of that, we'll be in charge. No.
Let's have the launch first. Otherwise, we'll exhaust the conversation before the event.
Come on. Can you do that? Yes, let's go.
Thank you very much for having us. When we are in the continent and in the Lukenya University, there's no difference between being in Cape Town and Johannesburg. Because for me, the whole of Africa is my home, and therefore do not feel like we are meeting with strangers or anything of that sort. We just happen to be on the other side of our own home. And nothing wow about it, nothing spectacular about it. It must become a normal way of living. That you just wake up and feel like going to Tanzania, you go to Tanzania, you feel like without boundaries, without visas, without anything. Because this is our home. In Europe, they can wake up in Italy and then go and eat lunch in London without any problem. But we have been subjected to artificial borders, which create an impression that we're different people when we're not. Because all of this was during the scramble of Africa. But otherwise, Africa is a country, it's not even a continent. We are one. Those who wanted to plunder our resources and exploit them are the ones who decided to divide us. So this Pan-African Institute seeks to undo that and make Africa to be one. So every initiative of this nature that says people must come together and embrace each other and embrace humanity should be supported. It can be seen as a small initiative, but it's one step in the right direction, where people are saying it is enough now, we need to come together. And we do that in an university through an institute, because a lot of things that, amongst many things that were deprived of, is the intellectual capacity of Africans to think on their own. That every intellectual who happens to be so sharp gets expropriated by Europe, America, to go and do the intellectual work on the other side, and then get quoted to us as if it's something from outside Africa. But when you follow up the origin of these ideas, you find that these ideas are the brainchild of Africans who were taken from us into the world. So we need an institute that will develop ideas from here in Africa. Because when we speak of any other resource, it can never be realized for as long as there are no ideas. So we must first have ideas and sharpen them. And then from there go and protect our ideas with a well thought of process which comes from an institute like Pan-African Institute. So we're going to support it in South Africa, not only through our commitment both in human resource and in capital, but also its offices in South Africa, not in the EFF offices, in a proper independent offices where everyone who can make a contribution should go and make a contribution. So that this African Institute can find its feet everywhere in the 54 countries of Africa. So we must take a first step. We don't have resources, we don't have money, we don't have that, but there is a political will. And for as long as there is a political will, there will be a way to ensure that the institute exists in South Africa. And we encourage many other progressive Pan-Africanists in the continent to host this institute and make sure it has got all the necessary resources to continue the intellectual work, to continue research, to continue are in the continent and in the Lukenya University, there's no difference between being in Cape Town and Johannesburg. Because for me, the whole of Africa is my home, and therefore do not feel like we are meeting with strangers or anything of that sort. We just happen to be on the other side of our own home. And nothing wow about it, nothing spectacular about it. It must become a normal way of living. That you just wake up and feel like going to Tanzania, you go to Tanzania, you feel like without boundaries, without visas, without anything, because this is our home. In Europe, they can wake up in Italy and then go and eat lunch in London without any problem. But we have been subjected to artificial borders, which create an impression that we're different people when we're not. Because all of this was during the scramble of Africa. But otherwise, Africa is a country, it's not even a continent. We are one. Those who wanted to plunder our resources and exploit them are the ones who decided to divide us. So this Pan-African Institute seeks to undo that and make Africa to be one. So every initiative of this nature that says people must come together and embrace each other and embrace humanity should be supported. It can be seen as a small initiative, but it's one step in the right direction, where people are saying it is enough now, we need to come together. And we do that in an university through an institute, because a lot of things that, amongst many things that were deprived of, is the intellectual capacity of Africans to think on their own. That every intellectual who happens to be so sharp gets expropriated by Europe, America, to go and do the intellectual work on the other side, and then get deported to us as if it's something from outside Africa. But when you follow up the origin of these ideas, you find that these ideas are the brainchild of Africans who were taken from us into the world. So we need an institute that will develop ideas from here in Africa. Because when we speak of any other resource, it can never be realized for as long as there are no ideas. So we must first have ideas and sharpen them. And then from there go and protect our ideas with a well thought of process which comes from an institute like the Pan-African Institute. So we're going to support it in South Africa, not only through our commitment both in human resource and in capital, and also its offices in South Africa, not in the EFF offices, in a proper independent offices where everyone who can make a contribution should go and make a contribution. So that this Pan-African Institute can find its feet everywhere in the 54 countries of Africa. So we must take a first step. We don't have resources, we don't have money, we don't have land, but there is a political will. And for as long as there is a political will, there will be a way to ensure that the institute exists in South Africa. And we encourage many other progressive Pan-Africanists in the continent to host this institute and make sure it has got all the necessary resources to continue the intellectual work, to continue research, to continue advising us on what are the possible solutions confronting the African continent. What I like the most about this institution is that it says Africans are not only those that are found in Africa. Anyone who looks like me and you, found all over in the world, in the diaspora, be it in Caribbean, be it in Sao Paulo, be it in America, be it in China. Everyone who looks like us is treated the same way we are treated. And therefore we ought to be one with them. The Haiti people are us, and therefore can't say because of geography, we don't want to associate with them. Anyone who is an African found anywhere should find resonance and see the Pan-Africanist as a whole, and they must all support it. So we're calling on the continent and the diaspora to support this institution. We're here to launch it, and it must live for many more years to come. We thank Prof for this initiative, because if it was not Prof, we were not going to come in the manner we did. But because Prof is not a political leader of a political party, when you are called by him, you know that it's not political affiliation, it's a political ideological engagement which seeks to sharpen ideas. So Prof is living like many others. Future generation must stop the dating Africa is very important, because Africa is one. And that's all. Thank you.
Viva Africa, viva!
Viva!
Viva Africa, viva!
Viva!
Afrika moja,
Afrika huru.
Afrika moja,
Afrika huru.
Afrika moja,
Afrika huru.
So thank you, members of the. Thank you, Commander. You have given, I think, a focus, especially for those who are not aware. They are now aware. Can we appreciate him once more? Secondly, members of the Fourth Estate, if there is any question you would want to put to Commander or and even PLO and even the governor is now. Once we go outside of that, we'll be in charge. No? No?
No, let's have the launch first. Otherwise, we'll exhaust the conversation before the event.
Come on. Can you do that? Yes, let's go.
Okay, thank you very much. Please you all, the governor, all professors, thank you very much for having us. When we are in the continent and in the Lukenya University, there's no difference between being in Cape Town and Johannesburg. Because for me, the whole of Africa is my home, and therefore do not feel like we are meeting with strangers or anything of that sort. We just happen to be on the other side of our own home. And nothing wow about it, nothing spectacular about it. It must become a normal way of living. That you just wake up and feel like going to Tanzania, you go to Tanzania, you feel like without boundaries, without visas, without anything, because this is our home. In Europe, they can wake up in Italy and then go and eat lunch in London without any problem. But we have been subjected to artificial borders, which create an impression that we're different people when we're not. Because all of this was during the scramble of Africa. But otherwise, Africa is a country, it's not even a continent. We are one. Those who wanted to plunder our resources and exploit them are the ones who decided to divide us. So this Pan-African Institute seeks to undo that and make Africa to be one. So every initiative of this nature that says people must come together and embrace each other and embrace humanity should be supported. It can be seen as a small initiative, but it's one step in the right direction, where people are saying it is enough now, we need to come together. And we do that in an university through an institute, because a lot of things that, amongst many things that were deprived of, is the intellectual capacity of Africans to think on their own. That every intellectual who happens to be so sharp gets expropriated by Europe, America, to go and do the intellectual work on the other side, and then get reported to us as if it's something from outside Africa. But when you follow up with the origin of these ideas, you find that these ideas are the brainchild of Africans who were taken from us into the world. So we need an institute that will develop ideas from here in Africa. Because when we speak of any other resource, it can never be realized for as long as there are no ideas. So we must first have ideas and sharpen them. And then from there go and protect our ideas with a well thought of process which comes from an institute like a Pan-African Institute. So we're going to support it in South Africa, not only through our commitment both in human resource and in capital, and also its offices in South Africa, not in the EFF offices, in a proper independent offices where everyone who can make a contribution should go and make a contribution. So that this Pan-African Institute can find its feet everywhere in the 54 countries of Africa. So we must take a first step. We don't have resources, we don't have money, we don't have that, but there is a political will. And for as long as there is a political will, there will be a way to ensure that the institute exists in South Africa. And we encourage many other progressive Pan-Africanists in the continent to host this institute and make sure it has got all the necessary resources to continue the intellectual work, to continue research, to continue advising us on what are the possible solutions confronting the African continent. What I like the most about this institution is that it says Africans are not only those that are found in
As we still stand, we will do a prayer, a universal prayer by Joseph Ogola. Kindly come forward. Let us pray. In the name of all that's good, we are gathered here today in love, joy, compassion, and peace. As we take a moment from our busy lives, we gather in friendship and as a community in gratitude to you, the creator of the universe. We are grateful for being so blessed. We trust that your presence and guidance will cause us to learn, share, and reflect on insights, experiences, and wisdom of others, on our meeting, on our oneness. We pray that in the name of all that's good, may we all be well, happy, and peaceful. May all beings here present and without have happiness and be the cause of happiness for each other. May we all be free of suffering and not cause suffering to others. May no harm come to us. May we all also have patience, courage, understanding, and determination to meet and overcome inevitable difficulties, problems, and failures in life. We thank you for our parents, our teachers and mentors, our friends, and may all living beings across Africa, here in Makueni and Kenya as a whole, that they will also be well, happy and peaceful. May no harm come to them. We bring to you our worries, fears, doubts, joys, pains, and hate. May we find the place of truth, stillness, and eternal unity, where you and us with one another are one. May we all rest in you in the spirit of life. Amen.
Kindly be seated. I want to take this opportunity to invite the Lukenya University Choir to come to the stage and give us a number from Makueni County in the West East Sub-County. And we are happy that the Governor of Makueni County is here with us, Honorable Lukenya. We are also happy to have been joined by the former Governor of Makueni County, Honorable Lukenya. We are happy to announce that PLO Lumumba is there with us. And our chief guest, Julius Malema. Lukenya University Choir, give us a number.
Jambo, jambo.
Let's appreciate the Lukenya University Choir. Thank you very much, Lukenya University Choir, with a wonderful number. Nyote makaribishwa Lukenya University. Lukenya University hakuna matata. I want to take this opportunity, first of all, to welcome you to Lukenya and maybe give some small guidelines. We have some restrooms for everybody. When you get out here, for the general public, we have some guest rooms or washrooms just next to this building. And you'll be directed. We have so many of our students that are serving as ushers, and they are already uniformed, so you'll be able to identify them. They should be able to give you any form of assistance that you may need. I want to take this opportunity also to invite the Vice Chancellor of Lukenya University, Professor Constantine Nyaboga, who will be able to welcome us to Lukenya. Remember, he's our CEO, and he has to give us permission to do our operations within the university. Professor Constantine Nyaboga, the Vice Chancellor.
Not the time. Not everyone is happy. Our keynote speaker, Honorable Malema, our brother and chair of the African Institute, Professor Lumumba, the governor of Makweli County, the governor of Makweli County President, that is Bwana Jr., all other friends of ours, including our own mothers. We have two mothers here, one from the academic point of view, that's our chancellor, and we have also the mother of all mothers, Ms. Mother Mura, and all protocols observed. Good morning once again. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's with great pleasure to warmly welcome you to Lukenya University at this launch of the Pan-African Institute. I convey my special gratitude to the Chair Board of Trustees, Honorable Sylvia Kasanga, for working closely to this initiative in the spirit of the great founders of the university, one being our regent mother, Ms. Mother Kasanga. I'm excited to be with our keynote speaker, Honorable Julius Malema from South Africa, a regent in Pan-Africanism with inspiring oratory, who is also the leader of the economic freedom fighters. I'm also glad to welcome Professor Piero Lumumba, who is one of our speakers today. We will still engage with him. He's a son of Africa, son of Kenya, in whom the Pan-African spirit thrives. Distinguished guests, welcome, and please feel at home and enjoy your stay in Lukenya University. Ladies and gentlemen, Pan-African Institute, as in it, the perennial and the inherent spirit and the light of Pan-Africanism that brings forth African Renaissance. As Carol Zoff puts it, the Institute will give leaders, scholars and activists an opportunity to reflect on Africa's self-reliance trajectory and the need to demystify, appropriate and popularize our history, our shared values, and our narrative about the state of Africa today, in honor of the generations that went before us, and to inspire current and the future generations. I'm therefore pleased and honored to be part of this milestone journey that Lukenya University presents today. You will hear much of the Pan-Africanism and search of one African on different continents from the Pan-Africanist guru, Honorable Julius Malema, exploit opportunities resulting from the Pan-Africa Intra-Africa Academic Mobility Scheme. This will in turn support skills development through promoting academic mobility and facilitating exchanges of experience and the best practice. Ladies and gentlemen, I properly own in my heart and on behalf of Lukenya University that Pan-African Institute shall not be a wonderful memory museum or encyclopedia for Pan-Africanism, for the same is printed both in print and electronic form, but rather it will be a vibrant, mind-bubbling establishment. The Institute will strive to advance, enhance, and sustain initiatives towards regional integration and the improvements of living standards, while throwing off the circles of economic bondage and democratic stagnation. This lands Lukenya University place on the continent of Africa as a place of Pan-Africanism by thought and practice. Ladies and gentlemen, as a true Pan-African, we urge all of you to choose, especially those who have not decided where to land, and they choose Lukenya University as a destination of learning and research, since we provide a number of market-driven undergraduate and postgraduate programs like Bachelor of Science in Dryland, Agriculture, Bachelor of Science in Ecology and Environment, and the Bachelor of Science in Wood Technology, among others. These programs are meant to equip learners with skills in mitigating the effect of climate change and to boost food security that has become one of the best challenges faced by Africa continent. Remember, all of you, especially those from outside who are already welcome here, that this is a chartered private university like many other universities that is residential for both staff and students, and our programs are quite affordable. It's now my pleasure once again to welcome you. But before I exit, I would request our guest speaker and the chair to allow me to introduce my top management that has assisted us reach here in terms of organization. You will just stand and wave. Wherever you are, I wish you could come just as I call you come and wave so that people can see you. My Deputy Vice Chancellor in charge of academics is Dr. Paul Mwanya. Paul, you can just wave from there. Paul. With this permission, you have seen students doing the number of jiggy-jaggy, the 400 exhibition. Then the second one is Dr. Judith Wafula, by DVC, the DVC Research and Collaboration. I'm sure Wafula is seriously networking now. The other one is the Register of Academic Affairs, Clementine Mutua, just come here. Clementine Mutua. I would want the Pan-Africans to go, wherever they are, they'll know that we take care of them. Then I will have my deans. I'll reach the dean's level. We have Dr. Ruth Kimeu. Where are you, Ruth? Ruth is quite far. Thank you for standing. Then I have another dean, Dr. Virginia Mwansia. Where are you, Mwansia? Then the last dean is Kama Makama, who has been with us all around. And the last week is someone I left for a purpose, by DVC Infrastructure Management, Mudeo Kasanga. If you look at her design, she's really a total Pan-Africanist. So thank you, Mudeo. Now, thank you. Now it's my pleasure once again to invite the chairperson of the University Board of Trustees, Honorable Sylvia Kasanga, to make her remarks. Mheshimiwa, appreciate her as she's coming. You can see a wonderful and a very strong chairperson.
Thank you, Professor. To our chief guest, Honorable Malema, our chairman, Pierre Lord Lumumba, our governor, former governor is here today as well. Our Speaker of County Assembly is here today. All distinguished guests from across Africa, Chancellor, Vice Chancellor, Pro Chancellor, everyone, all my friends out there and the comrades, good afternoon, everyone. And the ambassador is here. What a glorious day. Comrades, are we happy? Comrade power! Comrade power! Viva Africa! Our good friend, Honorable Jimmy Wanjibi, is just walking in. Okay, as he settles in. Thank you, Speaker. Thank you. All right, thank you so much. So today is about Pan-Africanism. And as the Vice Chancellor has said, we couldn't be more honored that the chairman, Professor Pierre Lumumba, chose Lukenya University to be the place and the home of the Pan-African Institute here in Kenya. We don't take that for granted. You officiated. You might not remember, but if you could, you officiated on the day we launched the vision of this university. So you have come home. Karibu sana, karibu nyumbani. So my duty is to introduce everyone who is associated with Pan-Africanism and Lukenya University. And I'm conscious about time, so we will move a little faster. Again, because we don't have room for everyone to speak, we are recognizing ourselves. We rise up and we wave. I want to start with our Chancellor, Professor Margaret McKenna from Boston, America. Please rise up. A big hand. From today onwards, you are a Pan-Africanist and you will now carry the message of our Pan-Africanism to America. Let me also recognize our Pro-Chancellor, Dr. Hedda. Dr. Hedda is here with us today, our Pro-Chancellor. Thank you very much. Dr. Hedda is an ultimate Pan-Africanist. He's done so much work for the community. If I was to read out his citation, we would not even finish the day. Bless you, Professor. Thank you, Doctor. Let me also recognize our council chair. He's here, Governing Council Chair, Dr. Ndonye. Oh, you are here at the back. Thank you, Dr. Ndonye, also another Pan-Africanist, doing a lot of work in the village as well. Let me have the other council members who are around. If you just rise up so that we can recognize you. Professor Scalia is here. Professor is from USIU as our council member. You don't have any other? Yes, Sachin Shah, also a council member, doing a lot of work in the agricultural sector here in Kenya, here in Makueni and across Africa. There are quite a number of products which they have introduced for dryland agriculture. Let me take this opportunity also to recognize the Board of Trustees. Board of Trustees, it could be rising. I recognize you. We start from that end. We have Benjamin Kasanga. We have Stanislas Mwilu, who heads our college. Juliana Ndolo, thank you so much. And Amuki Kasanga, Eunice Kasanga, thank you so much. And I leave the last one always the best, the oldest of us. Very good friend of the founders of this university who guided this land until we were able to build this university. Mr. Wilson Mutunga, aka Giti Mosu. Because of him, we are able to be here. Thank you so much. Great.
Who are you with?
One year?
Yeah, with me. Oh, you have one or two left through.
All right, in the midst of our guests, I have another list here. So in the group that is our visitors, or before I go to that, I have to recognize our comrades. Comrade leaders, are you ready? Cosmas, are you ready? I want to recognize this because without them, we really would not be here, number one. And number two, they've done a lot of work preparing for this day today. They're absolutely excited and we are proud of you. Let's start with the president. Cosmas Mutuku, please walk in quickly. We recognize you. Lydia Nyambeki. Come on, you have to hurry up, be faster. Ogola Joseph, Christopher Wekesa, Victor Omondi, Hassan Jolo, Gideon Humo, student leadership is a total of 40 senators, and these are the executive who lead them. They are selected on a collegial system, which is now based on each of the classes and their performances. So we have really the best of the best for our leadership. Thank you very much, leaders. Comrade Power! Now there's a team of people, and I hope they're here. My resident association, AMRA. Are you here? Hey! I'm so proud of them. Chief guests, these are, please stay upright. These are ultimate Pan-Africanists. If I was to tell their story, I know I can't finish it here. But these are people who grew up in this sub-county, in this area. They grew up here, they went to school here, they went and excelled in whatever they're doing, Nairobi and other places, but they came back home, formed a resident association. Community is most amazing. They go school to school, community to community, empowering young people through education, through environment, even welfare like mental health and all that. I'm so proud to be associated with them. I'm actually a part of them. And this particular, I don't know if the chairman of our body is here. Is he here? Our chairman. We couldn't make it. He couldn't make it. So I really appreciate all of you and the work that you do. God bless you so much. I want to recognize the Architects Alliance, and I'll tell you why. Three weeks ago, the Professor Lumumba helped us launch what we call the Architects Alliance. It's a group of architects who are 20 years in practice plus, who have come together. For the purpose, reason is to wake up the built industry and have a joint conversation in the country on the built industry. Please rise up, Architect Alliance and the friends of the Architects Alliance who are here today. Thank you very much. That is them. Thank you. Chief guest, we promise Professor Lumumba that we will have a Pan-African architecture wing as part of our TAA activities, and we will work together with the Pan-African Institute to advance the Pan-African architecture. It should also become part and parcel of the conversation. Thank you very much for coming. I really appreciate it. Amongst us, we have a lot of leaders to leave that to the governor so that you can help me with the elected leaders who are here today. We have a lot of Sasikalia is here. We have several organizations that are here. We have Unitech. Who is here for Unitech? Unitech, thank you very much. I can see Unitech all the way from Congo, right? Yes, from Congo. We have Seedling Africa. Seedling Africa is here. Edwina is here. Edwina. Kwacha. Kwacha. Who's here? Kwacha. Okay. Dr. Marco Ward is here. Thank you very much. Welcome. From Germany, we have Professor Groman from Germany. He's here for woodwork technology at the college. Most welcome. And from South Africa, we have Siobondo Ziman. Is he here? From South Africa? Sibondo? Yeah? Okay, great. I want to take this opportunity, and it's indeed a great honor for me, to invite our governor on stage. It is the first time the governor has been here to Lukenya University. We don't take it for granted. I'll ask him to come and address us, and please also recognize all the elected leaders who are here today. Please put your hands together for the governor of our country.
Comrade Power! Was your voice affected by the rain? Julius Malema has not heard Comrade Power! That's more like it. Thank you. All protocol observed. I'm told we have no time. So we've got to allow the chief guest to speak. I'm afraid I will not invite in the usual style everybody to speak. But I'll recognize the leaders who are here, beginning with Professor Kibudha Kimani. Please hold your hands. A teacher of law, our teacher, first governor of Makweli, and yes, I've been given further guidance. I will allow the speaker, please come and recognize your members. And the reason I recognize you, and I say so because I went to the South African Parliament to watch Mr. Julius Malema, and he was giving the speaker a rough time. So these members of yours don't give you a rough time, so you are lucky, man. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, the Governor, the Chief Guest. I do not want to take much time. I wish to recognize the legislators in this assembly, courtesy of the Chief Guest. We have the area member of the County Assembly, Francis Mwanya, the Deputy Speaker of the County Assembly of Makweli. Next is Harrison Mutie, former Deputy Speaker of the County Assembly of Makweli. And the rest of our members could not make it here because they are in committee business. There is the rest, please stand up. Honorable Elizabeth Muthike is a nominated member of the County Assembly, the majority party of this country. Thank you. That's all. I do not have much to say because standing orders provides that when a visiting dignitary visits, then you lower and allow the visiting dignitary to address the assembly. And therefore, under provisions of standing order number 1, you will hereby grant the authority to address.
Before I ask Professor Kibwana to say something, the gentleman I'm going to introduce made what I call nearly an indecent proposal to me. He's a presidential candidate, and he requested me to become his deputy presidential candidate. So I would have been, for all intents and purposes, a deputy president. But I declined to become the governor of Makweli. Jimmy Wanjiki, please come and say something.
My fellow Africans, headed by His Excellency Malema, comrades, power! Comrades, power! Africa, power! Africa, power! Africa, hoye! Africa, hoye! Let us be proud of who we are. Give yourselves a clap. Mine will be very brief today. I had thought of saying so much. I had thought of writing a speech because this is an amazing forum we are at today, graced by one of our greatest Pan-Africans, Julius Malema. Before I go to my speech, I want to say, Honorable Malema, you're a younger democracy than Kenya. But we have watched the democracy you have punctuated in South Africa. We have watched your vigorous party shake a whole government to its knees in the great house of the South African Parliament. Sometimes when I think backwards, I think when we did the new constitution, we should have had the president coming to Parliament. Don't you agree? I think we would have criticized and put him in a situation like we have seen in South Africa. We appreciate what you've done for party democracy. We wish you the very best in the next election. Give Malema a big clap. Pan-Africanism is an ideology, if you have not embraced it yet. It is a spirit of brotherhood. A brotherhood of everyone of African descent, here and outside the continent of Africa. And this brotherhood recognizes our diverse culture, traditions, languages, and its strength and weaknesses. It is rich, so rich that the colonialists came over 100 years ago, 1890, to take it away from us. They came here to ensure that they stop fighting in their own lands. In their own lands. And they came for the scramble of this great continent. They came for our resources. But they took the time. They took the time to study us. They took the time to define us. They took the time to create borders between us. They created countries. They created districts. They governed us. They are the ones who defined the Bantu and the Nilotes. That was not our definition. We now have a new resurgence. And that new resurgence must recognize the direction we have to go. We don't criticize our colonialists. In fact, they had a plan for themselves. So good luck. We must now start talking about our own plan for the greatness of this continent. We must talk about our greatness and our domination of the world. And we can't do so when we have been defined by others. We can only do so when we define ourselves. We are not going to be defined as the dark continent. We refuse to be defined as the poverty-stricken continent. We refuse to be defined as the continent that is full of corruption and disease and illiteracy. We refuse. We refuse. We are going to go forward on the basis of our strengths. And Africa is depicted as a small continent. Land mass itself is 30 million kilometers. And the whole of America in it, and still have another 10 million square kilometers. We must be very clear. With all the resources we have, 30% conservative, it is estimated, of mineral resources in the world. 60% of solar power. Half of titanium. We go on and on. But the richest is the people. We have 1.4 billion Africans. That is a power that is a fifth of the world's population. And it is a young population. All of you I'm seeing back there. 77% of us are you, under 35. You are tomorrow's producers. You are tomorrow's consumers. The rest of the world is shrinking. We are growing. Recognize your power from here going forward. But your power will not be defined if you do not define yourselves. When the colonialists came here, he did not recognize that we had a philosophy. In fact, he said, we had none. There is even a philosopher, German philosopher, called Maynard, Gustav Maynard, who was a racist philosopher, who said, the African is inferior because he is ugly. That means he has inferior brain. He has no capacity for compassion. We must get away from those stereotypes. Those are the ones that have brought us to a world that is defined between black and white. Our greatness by us defining ourselves. They came here with the Bible, and they came here with the gun. Internally, they had their collaborators. The collaborators that allowed them to perpetuate their colonialism. That colonialism is still here today. We had our freedom fighters who fought the first fight, which was our independence. And here I would like to recognize that, Malema, if you did not know, out of the 500 million people of the British Empire that were conquered, only Kenya gave them an armed struggle for independence. Give ourselves a clap. And that armed struggle in Kenya cost a community here 200,000 lives, conservatively put, because records were not known. It was genocide. It cost community here a mass detention camps, like you saw in the Nazi camps. Entire communities of this country, Central Kenya specifically, were put under detention, like the Nazi prison camps. The other day we had a king here who colonized, and we appreciate it. We appreciate it. We don't know why he came. Do you know why he came? Because we didn't understand why he came. We were not told why he was here. We didn't know whether he wanted to see where his mother was made king, queen, or something. We don't know. But when he came, he said he regrets and they are sorrowful. But he did not say sorry. He did not say sorry. One discussion they do not want to have is what they got from the colonies. 60% of the UK is built on their colonies. Their GDP is built on the colonies. And the greatest fear they have is the question of reparations. They are frightened of that word. Frightened. But it is a discussion we must start having. We are not going to allow the continuation of neo-colonialism. We had our independence heroes. We had our second liberation heroes against those who are Africans that colonized us. I've seen in South Africa, you are going through the same thing. We have been there. Now we are going through together the economic liberation forward. I'm a sequel. There's no other topic even in this country and on this continent other than economic liberation. And that liberation, please understand, they are the colonized Africans, even in that liberation. The ones who are perpetuating debt as a tool of slavery. The ones who are perpetuating the removal of our natural resources as a tool of slavery. The ones who believe, like the colonizers believed, that they can only be up if we are down. And they believe that they are becoming the new colonizers. Our liberation has got to be defined by the new liberators. In the old times, we had the liberators of Kwame Nkrumah, who specifically said, and I must quote him, I am African because, not because I am born in Africa, but because Africa is born in me. Those liberators, from the ideologies of Marcus Garvey, the liberators of Lumumba, of Mandela, of Nyerere, of Jomo Kenyatta, not the son, Jomo Kenyatta the father. Those liberators must be recognized. The new liberators now for economic liberation must the African colonized, we now must recognize that we must form a union of the African liberators in this struggle for economic liberation. And with that, I say Africa hoye, Africa freedom, Africa asanteni sana. Thank you. God bless.
For a moment, you became the guest speaker.
I see the governor has taken away the big microphone so that I still remember I'm not the governor. Comrade Julius Malema, Commander-in-Chief, Patrick Lumumba, Professor, Martha, Chancellor, and all those who are of this family, and particularly the students. Hamjambo. Hamjambo tena. After I stopped being a politician, an active politician, who has taken and be with us during the launch of a very important institute. I want to thank Lumumba for showing Malema the way to this place. And both of them getting involved in a big dream. I know what you do is tough because I've also been there. There was a time I was the spokesperson of the pro-democracy movement in Kenya in the 90s. And sometimes you do certain things and you're marked. I know because Malema, you say Africa should belong to all of us. You're kind of marked. I remember Lumumba when he said MPs were not doing the right things with the Constituency Development Fund, they marked him. But where there is the obstacle, that is the way. So I want to encourage you and to encourage these young people who are here, listening, participating in this major event. Just a few things. One to say, as somebody who was in the subnational level here in Kenya, Pan-Africanism should be built also on that plank of how we make sure that our subnational governments work. Because as matters stand, they are suffocated, particularly by the national level. Secondly, as you briefed the media, you talked about the diaspora. I think for Pan-Africanism also to work, that diaspora needs to be mobilized. Indeed, Kenyans who work outside Kenya, because at some point Kenya was a bit hostile, have moved many countries and have done beautiful things, even in South Africa. So that diaspora is important in terms of this agenda. The youth are critical because we are building Africa with and for them. And again, when you arrived at Jomo Kenyatta Airport, you were able to say that Pan-Africanism must be built on the shoulders of young people who are our present and future. And indeed, the African Youth Charter is very eloquent in terms of, like, when one looks at Article 10, 11, how the youth of Africa can be part of mobilizing Pan-Africanism. So that's a charge we give you everywhere you go, to talk to the youth of Africa, to tell them it is time for them to take back their continent. Lukenya have been here severally, Governor Mutula, when I was a governor like you, and this is a prime institution. And I would ask you once in a while to come over and see what's happening. And I hope that with this institute, being inaugurated, you will also take the step of having a department of Pan-African studies so that students can come here and study Pan-African studies. Let me conclude. I don't know why Wanjiki didn't think of also offering me then the deputy presidential. Maybe he thought my politics are radical. Let me end by Africa Arise, a poem. Sometimes in my solitude, I write poems. Africa Arise. Are we damned? Are you doomed? Cradle of ancient civilization, hopeless continent, refuge for legendary poverty, disease, hunger, decomposing continent, sanctuary of death, mother of the world. What happened? What happened, Africa? I hear your lullaby carried by the wind, harmed by a sobbing mama. We survived alien rape. Don't you cry. We'll survive sibling plunder. Wipe your tears. We shall overcome homemade wars and scars. What about a smile? Smile. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Love. Oh, Africa, land of eternal hope. Gather your treasure, your promise, your resilience, your people for the safari of Harambe, Ujamaa, Hutu, Ubuntu, self-discovery. We must reclaim our past. Our time has come to teach the world how to be a neighbor, how to be humane. Arise, Africa, our time. Asanteni and arise.
Thank you. To our chief guest, time we speak, we take our notebooks because we are going to learn one or more complicated words. So this is a very good initiative, and I'm going to say why it is a good initiative. I bothered to travel to South Africa, and I went to the Robben Island to see the place where Mandela and his friends were incarcerated. The person who took us on a tour, who was a victim, told us, do not cry. But by the time they finished the tour, I can tell you, you cannot not cry. And for a person to have stood these sort of circumstances that are Robben Island, come out of jail, become a president, leave presidency, and form the South African rugby team, makes Mandela an icon and a saint. Now, why is this important? The generation we're speaking to, Mandela, Kwame Nkrumah, Julius Nyerere, and all these African heroes are nothing but textbook stuff. They can't relate. They can't relate to the struggle. But here in their presence is a person who rubbed shoulders with Winnie Mandela, Nelson Mandela. So what is missing in the Pan-African? Missing in the Pan-African struggle is the missing in the Pan-African struggle is the story. A person who knows them, together with the professor here, a journey to awaken this continent. You must confess, you are just among the few people who are speaking truth to power. Because I've watched you. I've watched you interrogate a judge about his past judgments during the apartheid. That is the portion that I miss of being a legislator. Because you can speak truth to power. So what you have started today is a journey of these young people to tell them that we are here enjoying the fruits of somebody who made a sacrifice like Nelson Mandela. So that it reminds you that you have an obligation. You have an obligation to your nation. So just like your famous speech in the burial of Winnie Mandela that read viral, give us a signal. Give us a signal. Because that is what we need in Africa. I have said and I mentioned to you, your music is our music. The Nigerian movies, I don't want to tell you about it. They love it. So deep inside, all of us are the same. These boundaries are colonial boundaries that were placed there to divide us. And we must go back to the drawing board. With those few remarks, welcome to Makueni. It's a pleasure for all of us to welcome you here. I feel privileged as the governor to welcome you here. I traveled all the way to watch you. Now I'm going to sit here in Makueni and listen to you. A famous man said, to you young people, at dawn, but to be young was very heavy. To be in the presence.
Thank you. Platinum sponsor for a marathon, and yes, we do have a marathon next year in March, and we are looking for partners and collaborations. We can finalize chief guest and chairman. We have our ultimate Pan-Africanists amongst us. 30 years plus of educating young people, of supporting communities, of engaging with communities at all levels. I can't describe to you her love for the environment. And part of the reason why this setting was chosen, as remote as it is because of her belief that we will not rise as Africa if we leave anyone behind. And our rural setting cannot be left behind. We must focus our efforts here. Otherwise, we will never be able to feed ourselves as a continent. And this Pan-African lady, we are here because of her. All this is because of her effort. Our mother, our matriarch, Mama Mulwa Kasanja.
God is good, and all the time. Today, I'm so happy. Malema, our son, like the governor said, is here, and we are going to listen to him. Our governor, our son, is here. We are going to sit. We have listened to him, and he is most welcome to this corner of his county. Professor, you remember the day we called you to launch the concept called Lukenya. Politicians also believe that this corner can be something. It's the best idea he has had. And today we are with you. So we thank you for bringing in the pyramids. So Africa is still unknown to a great extent. But we need leaders like Piero and our son here to bring out Africa to the world, the proper Africa. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Mama. Thank you so much. Comrade power. Suddenly Lukenya University is not far. Thank you to Piero Lumumba and PFF leader. So I'm done for today. Please let's enjoy ourselves. I will hand over the mic back to the MC. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that session that has just ended. I want to break the monotony of the speeches by inviting Kalimbo, one of our students, to give us a shairi poem. Kalimbo, the stage is yours.
Muungano wa Afrika. Muungano wa Afrika ndicho chanzo cha umoja. Nawapa zangu salamu Lukenya, habari zenu. Kwa wale Waislamu, salamu alaikum yenu. Na ndugu wa Bwana Yesu, asifiwe Yesu wenu. Muungano wa Afrika ndicho chanzo cha umoja. Ni jina la harakati ilozuka Amerika. Ni moja ya mikakati ya kuunganisha Afrika. Kuja kwetu ni bahati, macho yalitufunguka. Muungano wa Afrika ndicho chanzo cha umoja. Kuzipigania haki hasa za watu weusi. Kujikomboa kwa dhiki, kukomesha unyanyasi. Ipate kuondoka chuki pamoja na wasiwasi. Muungano wa Afrika ndicho chanzo cha umoja. Kulinda utamaduni wa jamii ya Afrika. Kuukana ukoloni, gandamizo la Mwafrika. Janga la umasikini, kikomo nalo kufika. Muungano wa Afrika ndicho chanzo cha umoja. Utumwa ulisukumwa usodhirika tena. Biashara ya watumwa, binadamu kuuzana. Mara moja ilizimwa, hadi wa leo hakuna. Muungano wa Afrika ndicho chanzo cha umoja. Du Bois na Mandela walikuwa kwenye chati, na Kenyatta hakulala, lijitolea kwa dhati. Wako walokwenda jela kisa hizi harakati. Muungano wa Afrika ndicho chanzo cha umoja. Mambo mengi walipinga na maovu kuyasuta, hasa hili la ujinga waache kulikamata. Wasiwe wenye kupanga vya wenye kwa wenye vita. Muungano wa Afrika ndicho chanzo cha umoja. Afrika kujitawala, wanawake uhuru. Wakomeshe mbaya hila, ukatike msururu. Uwe mwisho wa madhila, waishi wakiwa huru. Muungano wa Afrika ndicho chanzo cha umoja. Na hapa yangu kalamu kifuniko naitia. Imeisha yangu zamu, kikomo nimefikia. Niliyowapa elimu vizuri kuitumia. Muungano wa Afrika ndicho chanzo cha umoja. Muungano wa Afrika ndicho chanzo cha umoja. Muungano wa Afrika, mweusi apate haki. Mtunzi na mgani, ndiye wako Joshua Kalimbo. Shukrani.
Thank you very much, Kalimbo. That's our student. I want to invite, for the sake of those that don't understand Kiswahili, another narrative from Nyawira. A narrative from Nyawira. It's a short one, then PLO, you prepare to take the stage.
Good afternoon. Afternoon once more. I am going to present a narrative by the name Alpha Prays for Help.
With this pen and paper, I am writing my letter for an Africa that is better. My heart, hurting, aching, and bleeding. As I write this letter to you, stranger, to me, you are not a stranger. Dear Malema, do not just pass by. Hear my humble cry. Like little, I discourse this bit. Let through the bedroom window for somebody, anybody, to help me. A letter by the roadside, a young girl crying for help. Malema, please take me out of this agonizing misery. Misery with no glory. A glory I deserve with plenty. I must take this letter to the judge to judge the injustices. Hooray! Finally, somebody is listening to me and reacting to my lamentation. I hope this will be my revelation. Help! 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 Somebody! Anybody! Please help me! Oh
Nyawira, we appreciate you. I want to take this opportunity because of the interest of time to invite Professor Patrick Lumumba.
Thank you very much. You may resume your seats now. Let me start by welcoming and appreciating my very good friend, the Commander-in-Chief of EFF, Commander-in-Chief Julius Malema. We do not take it for granted that you have taken time to be present with us here in Lukenya. We thank you. Permit me also to recognize present in the Assembly the Governor of Makueni, Senator Mutula Kilonzo Jr. Permit me also to recognize the Chancellor, the Pro-Chancellor, the Vice-Chancellor, and all senior academic staff and trustees of Lukenya University, not to forget the immediate past Governor of Makueni, who was my teacher in first year, Professor Kibuda Kibwana. Because this is a Pan-African event, you will permit me to recognize Pan-Africanists who have taken time to be present with us this afternoon. I'll recognize them. They will rise and wave their hands, if only to demonstrate to those who are here and those who are watching online that this is Africa present in Makueni. Permit me to start as I do with my good friend and brother, His Excellency, the Ambassador of Antigua and Barbuda himself from Trinidad and Tobago, Ambassador Wallace Williams. Permit me to recognize Inka Abioye of Festa from Nigeria, accompanied by Grace, who is heading the Festa Festival of African Art, and he's Kenyan herself. Alawi Kashim from the United Republic of Tanzania. Next to him is Chivala from the United Republic of Tanzania. Permit me also to introduce the Gabriel Selassie girls. Let's Eden and your sister Ryan, all the way from Ethiopia, to recognize Zakai, all the way from Hargeisa in Somaliland, to recognize Calvin Kaunda, who is from Lusaka in Zambia, to recognize my very good friend Nurdin Kajuma from Bukoba in the United Republic of Tanzania, to recognize Edwina Taylor, sometimes from Ivory Coast, sometimes from Sierra Leone, sometimes from Liberia, accompanied by her sister Yande Taylor, Gambia, Dubai, and to recognize my sister from Uganda, Nancy Linda Kalembe, and to recognize from Nigeria and the United Kingdom, Dr. Kofo Obasanjo Blacksha. Also recognize my very good friend Carol Banks from Kenya, as I also do recognize Maureen Kea Chobi from Kenya, and Nelson Sechere, who also hails from Kenya, and the young men and women who belong to Free Kenya Movement, Bob Njagi, Nicholas Soyo, Waja Okumu, and Felix Wambua. All these are young Pan-Africanists who hold the view that in order to grow Africa, we must grow her from a different perspective, village by village. And they are here present, my friend Ouma is present in the assembly, and if I do not mention you by name, do recognize that you are appreciated this afternoon. Today is my good friend CIC Malema's day, and it would be inappropriate for anybody to deliver a speech of any kind. But what I will do, if only to contextualize this gathering, is to invite to the podium for no more than 4 minutes, because this is an institute, individuals who have started this particular journey by penning books, some of which will be left for this institute. Permit me therefore to invite the three of you to come forth, and you'll speak for 1 minute. Pauline Kea Chobi, who is the writer of Kigogo, which has been accepted. So you can see Kigogo is known, all these students have read Kigogo. And it is important to note that I have now translated Kigogo into English as the leader. And as I see my friend Ibrahim Sanka is also here, as I also now see Catherine Waweru. And I also invite Kofo Obasanjo. And just for 1 minute, to allow them to speak to their books. Kofo Obasanjo, Dr. Kofo Obasanjo is all the way from Nigeria, and his own father is a great Pan-Africanist, Olusegun Obasanjo. Where is Carol Monks? Just for 1 minute, before we go into the crux of the matter, say something about your book. Pauline Kea.
All protocol observed, I will take very little time. I think most, if not all of the students seated here have read Kigogo. Thank you. Kigogo was then translated by Professor P.L. Lumumba to the reader, the English version. I hope that you will read the reader too. So I will just talk a little bit about the leader or the Kigogo. I wish I could speak in Kiswahili because it's in Kiswahili, but for the sake of our visitors who are not conversant with Kiswahili, but we are making Kiswahili a lingua franca for Africa, and so very soon we will not have excuses to use English in such forums. So, Kigogo, or the leader, is about leadership, and leadership for the young people. The majority of you know what I am talking about. I will pick on a character. The young people here know a character called Sudi in the play. Sudi says, did you like Sudi? Yeah. Did you like Tunu? Yeah. My joker. So Majoka is this evil leader. And so Sudi at some point, he's just completed his university course, and is actually looking for a job, and there are no jobs. So he uses his talent to survive, just like most African young people are doing. You use your talent, which is very right. Use your talent. It is okay. Use your talent to do whatever that can make you survive. It is dreamland. So he says, I am going to sculpture the history of this country. And then the other one says, in fact he says, I'm going to write. The other one says, you cannot write the history of this country. You are not a writer. Then he says, if I am not a writer, I am a sculptor. I am going to sculpture the history of this country because it was not written well. So today, I tell you young people, if you are a doctor, you need to do your medical things afresh. If you are a historian, write the history of Africa afresh. If you are doing business, do business in the right way, the African way. Do business afresh. If you are a farmer, remember our seeds. Plant African seeds. Do agriculture the right way. Do not write agriculture afresh.
Thank you.
So, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Let me now, for 1 minute, invite Carol Banks, who has written about ethical leadership. 1 minute. When you see me stand, it means you stop.
All right, Prof. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I am privileged and all protocol observed. Private sector people, we mess up a lot of time when it comes to protocol. But I'm very excited to see Mr. Hedda. You may not remember me, but I was a young nurse at the Nairobi hospital where he used to be a surgeon. And I'm very happy to see him because healthcare practitioners rarely get to speak in forums. And being a trained nurse, I took a journey of courage and I became a managing director of a Fortune 500 company. And everywhere I've been to, everybody asks me to tell my story. Top 40 and 40 2019, please, will you tell your story more to show young people that it can be done? And what a beautiful thing you did today, Prof, to have young people in a hall like this, where I can actually have the courage to tell them that it can be done. But I wondered, if I write my story of how I became a managing director of a Fortune 500 as a Kenyan young woman, how many people will be able to relate with that story? Maybe a few, maybe not too many. But if I coin it in a book that really addresses some of the issues that we are dealing with as Africans in Africa, and showing it that it can be done in the straight and narrow, like the teacher was just saying. I've read Kigogo, so I understand what she was saying, and Kigogo is basically living ethically. And so I combined my story of where I come from, how I was brought up, the challenges I faced, my nursing career, the people that held my hand, because you should never really forget where you come from. Sorry, what? Where I come from. So, ladies and gentlemen, ethical leadership, creating a culture of trust and responsibility.
Thank you very much, Carol. And I don't want them to reveal too much about the book. You'll not buy it. So the whole idea is that you buy the book. Thank you very much. Let me now invite the Domtila Mwanzia, who was
Thank you, Prof. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. My name is Dr. Domtila Mwanzia. I belong to Lecturer, Kenya University in the School of Education and Social Sciences. I'm the chairperson, Department of Education. I was motivated to write my book, Challenges Faced by Women Ed Teachers in Public Primary School, because as a young teacher, I was elevated to the hobbies of deputy ed teacher in the primary school. And after a few days, the ed teacher retired. I was to hold the two offices for almost a year, because those times in 1992, we were not being blessed very fast. I went through many challenges. My governor, I came from Galawa, and that time politics was hot, and they were against women leadership. But I thank God I stood firm. I climbed the ladder to headship, where I faced more challenges when I started my education as a diploma in SME, Bachelor of Education in Specialist Education, And also I went for Masters in Education and Administration. Then most of the people, then she does to me in the primary section. Let her move where she belongs, because she seems to be more educated for our younger children. So with all those challenges I faced and other ladies, then I was motivated to write this book. You can read it more when you purchase a copy.
Thank you very much. And now permit me, before I call the speaker in a short while, to allow two people 1 minute each, Yinka Abioe, for one reason. In 1966 in Dakar in Senegal, there was the Festival of Arts under the auspices of Leopold Sedar Senghor. 40 years later in Nigeria, there was Festival in Lagos, Nigeria, under the patronage of President Olusegun Obasanjo. Next year, there will be Festac in Kisumu from the 20th to the 25th day of May 2022. He is the man who has revived Festac after a hiatus of nearly 40 years in Zanzibar in 2022 and in Arusha in Tanzania in 2023. For 30 seconds only, say your piece.
30 seconds? Everybody, it's a pleasure to be here. I can't talk for 30 seconds. This is a punishment. What I want to tell you is this. Like Prof said, 45 years ago, if a festival was put together to make all of us come together and know and understand one another, guess what? We let it die for 45 years. It's back. It's every year going forward. It's Africa Month. The May is last week of May for all of us. And people, the next one is May 20th to 26th of 2024 in the wonderful city of Kisumu. I look forward to seeing all of you to celebrate who we are as people. Viva Africa!
You made it. Thank you very nicely. Let me allow Dr. Kofo Obasanjo Blankshire to speak to a book which I commend to all of you. Dr. Kofo.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to try to stick to the 1 minute, and I'm going to hope I beat Prof coming to send me to my seat. So very briefly, I'm not going to introduce myself. You've heard my name. I'm in the race against time. This book was forged in the crucible of the COVID pandemic under the supervision of my father, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, former head of state of Nigeria. And the principle behind this book, Pillars of Statecraft, is essentially what are the ingredients required to build a strong nation state. As Pan-Africanists, what we need is that each individual African nation is as strong as it can be, and that together as a force and a bloc, we can write our own story. Madam Founder said to us to bring Africa out to the world. This book is about forging African nations so that they're strong and that as Africans we can thrive and then launch out into the world. Unleash our youth. We are the only continent that is growing. We need to unleash our youth who are healthy, who are educated, who are equipped as a force out there to take the world back and to take Africa and really launch it into a space where we have partnerships on our own terms. We're no longer the continent that has things done to it. We're now a continent that has partnerships and effective relationships where we own our narrative and we don't have our stories told for us by other people. And I think I made it.
Thank you. The other person who has written a book in absentia is Professor Suki Mwendwa, a book called Sing Your Song. It is a book that I also commend to you. May I now humbly request you to resume your seats. And having done so, may I now have the podium to be brought.
Thank you. Well done.
Typically, when one is invited to speak, long introductions are made. I normally interrupt those introductions because the very fact that we have invited Commander-in-Chief Julius Malema here in itself is a testament to the fact that we have searched throughout the world and we have arrived at the conclusion that he is the one who is fit to be here. So his very presence in this assembly is a testament to the fact that he is a Pan-Africanist. It is not mine to talk about him. But when we talk about Pan-Africanism today, we are talking about Pan-Africanism in the context of those who preceded us. We are talking about Pan-Africanism reminding ourselves of Sylvester Williams of Trinidad and Tobago, who convened the first Pan-African meeting. We are reminding ourselves of Marcus Garvey. We are reminding ourselves of Pixlika Isaka Seme of South Africa. We are reminding ourselves of W.B. Du Bois. We are reminding ourselves of John Henry Clark. We are reminding ourselves of Malcolm X, of Martin Luther King Jr., of Robert Mangaliso Subukwe. We are reminding ourselves of Bantu Stephen Biko. We are reminding ourselves of Julius Kambarage Nyerere. We are reminding ourselves of Amilcar Cabral Abejas. We are reminding ourselves of Ahmed Ben Bella, of Ahmed Sekou Toure, of Samora Moises Machar, of Agostino Neto, and all those great men, Winnie Madikizela Mandela. We are reminding ourselves. And therefore, when we come here on this occasion of the Pan-African Institute, we are reminding ourselves that we have philosophized for too long, moralized for too long, agonized for too long, complained for too long, criticized for too long, critiqued for too long, blamed others for too long. We have allowed ourselves to be defined for too long, and that the time is now to define ourselves. The time is now to organize beyond urbanization. And that is why it gladdens my heart as I will, in the next 30 minutes, invite Commander-in-Chief Cyril Malema to also invite to the stage individuals who will welcome him as he delivers his speech, because it is these individuals whom we start with, and through cross-fertilization of ideas, they are germinated the Pan-African Institute. Tony Nyanja. Joanne Wangiela. Sylvia Kasanga. If indeed they say there is a thorn among the roses, I am but that thorn. Behold the roses. That said, Juju, these are your people. Amanda! Maibuye! Maibuye! You don't know how to respond. When I say Amanda, you say Yahweh. When I say Maibuye, you say Africa. And when I say Africa, you say Maibuye. Amanda! Amanda! Maibuye! Africa! Juju, speak to your people.
Thank you very much, Program Director. Let me take this opportunity to send revolutionary greetings to the esteemed professor, a friend of mine and a brother, Pierre-Paul Lumumba. Let me also greet our mother, the founder of this important university, Mama Kasanga Mulwa, and greet your husband, wherever he is, that he left us a lasting legacy that we stand to celebrate here today. The leadership and academic staff, our Vice Chancellor, the Chancellor is here,
and all the staff members who are here today to celebrate with us. And we also want to send our revolutionary greetings to the leadership of our province, what we call a province, and here we call it sub-national, the governor, and all these politically elected leaders who are here today. We are really grateful for your presence. Let me also send my greetings to the Lukenya University students and members of the community, members of the media and fellow Africans. Today it feels good to be African. Right here in Kenya, a place we call our home, because all of Africa is our home. No one can ever say to me, welcome to Kenya or Lukenya or Nairobi, as if I'm a visitor. I regard no part of Africa as being foreign to me, because Africa, all of it, belongs to me and I belong to Africa. It is a humbling honor to be invited to address the launch of the prestigious Pan-African Institute, which is targeted at creating intellectual collaboration and unity amongst the people of the continent. Let us therefore begin by congratulating you on this initiative, which is long overdue in light of the importance of the continent to reclaim its intellectual and academic identity within the global community in general. We know that ideas are at the core of the African capacity to chart its own destiny within the community of the world. Intellectual sovereignty has to be forged through research and development that is steeped in African experiences, African problems, and African questions. The economics of the African Academy have been part of the modalities of the broad draining of our resources. Because of lack of dedicated funding, many thinkers in the continent are taken in the general brain drain driven by Euro-American institutions. As we have seen over the decades, there is no way Euro-American is going to fund an intellectual project that will see Africa truly become intellectually sovereign. A truly sovereign Africa is a threat to the imperialist establishment that continue to determine the agenda and control of our resources. It is also inspiring to see that our esteemed Prof. Lumumba and those who are joining him in this initiative have chosen our continent and Kenya in particular to establish an intellectual research and knowledge institution. Accordingly, our first duty is to call on sons and daughters of the continent, both based here and in the diaspora, to generously fund this institute and ensure that it creates a unique Africa based on an original thought, because we have a duty to chart our own intellectual path. We are also inspired by the fact that the Institute's concept of Pan-Africanism includes all people of African descent. That is, those in the continent, the Americas, Caribbean islands, Europe, and Asia. This is because wherever they are found, people who look like you and me continue to be treated as an inferior race. When you see a black person, when you see an African person, everywhere else in the continent, in the diaspora, and all over the world, please be kind to African people, for because they are a hated nation. Wherever they are being enslaved, they are being tortured, they are being harassed. No one shows them love. But you, as an African who claim to be a Pan-Africanist, you have a responsibility to show fellow Africans love and care. The violent, genocidal, and catastrophic transatlantic slave trade and colonialism are the historical twin towers that plunged the humanity of Africans into the dark night, which to
this day seem to have no end in sight. The image of the African as a black and subhuman was forged through massive and violent enslavement of millions of African people sold in the Americas as properties of white colonial settlers. In the coastal and mainland villages of West Africa, through the gun, the dogs, and the spears, African communities were plundered, captured against their will, and chained like animals. At the ports of Ghana, those chained, naked, and malnourished bodies of men, women, and children were scaled, measured, and sold for gold, silver, or livestock. They were put in those gigantic ships that crossed thousands of kilometers of the massive body of violent and cold waters of the Atlantic Ocean. Millions will not survive the dangerous voyages on sea. They will die of disease, starvation, or pure mental illness. Many will be offloaded alive, thrown into the deep waters to ease navigation during the storms of the violent seas. It is on those cold Atlantic Ocean's waters, deep in the bottom of the ocean, that many carcasses of African people, their bones lay rotten in chains and swallowed by the sea. Those who survived and on arrival in the Americas were forced to work in the different plantations of white men. From the white chiefs to the plantation, the image of an inferior African was being constructed through brutal force. Then began the violent colonial conquest for settlement aimed at our natural resources that defined our native continent. The white man sought to rule Africa and yet designed a system of racial segregation, racial humiliation, racial abuse that lasted for many centuries. The colony and the plantation, with the voyage slave ships in the middle, were the perfect technologies of recreating the African into a subservient being whose only survival in the modern world must always be through white tutelage, supervision, and approval. The transatlantic slave trade, colonial conquest, and colonial rule are responsible for the zombification of the African soul and its intellectual damification and the psychotic condition where Africa and its people cannot handle their affairs without white supervision. As both an intellectual project and a program of revolutionary change, Pan-Africanism is first the recognition of this terrible history, which by all definition remains a world history that has cast the African into a global identity of inferiority amongst people of the world. Pan-Africanism is never forgotten noise of the painful cries of those captured slaves whose black bodies were swallowed by the Atlantic Ocean from the slave ships. It is the agonizing cry from the brutal violence suffered by the black slaves in the sugar, cotton, and corn plantations from Georgia to Sao Paulo. Pan-Africanism is also the resounding victory from the theater of the Haitian Revolution from 1781 to 1804, led by the greatest descendant of our continent, Toussaint Louverture. Together with his patrons, they bravely led the first and only successful slave revolution in human history, defeating a combined European force commanded by France, Napoleon Bonaparte. It is the bravery of those African former slaves who will define citizenship on a racial definition of blackness, declaring that Haiti belongs to black people regardless of the color of their skin. Pan-Africanism is also the anger emanating from the countless defeats suffered by the patrons, the brave soldiers like those of Mau Mau and Bambata Rebellion, defeated at the hands of the brutal British colonial forces.
It is the intellectual heritage of Marcus Garvey, W.E. Du Bois, Booker T. Washington, Harriet Tubman, Paisley Isaac Assel, Charlotte Mateke, Winnie Mandela, Kwame Nkrumah, Seiko Tore, Julius Nyerere, Haile Selassie, CLR James, Frantz Fanon, Thomas Sankara, and today our own Prof. Lumumba, together with us, has carried the making of the Pan-Africanist cause. Pan-Africanism is a set of ideas written in chains, with blood, spear, and the unforgiving guns of the sons and daughters from the Algerian Revolution to the Battle of Kutokolavan. It is the one-party state of Africa as a whole, as professed by Marcus Garvey. It is Amin Caesarius' negritude, Kwame Nkrumah's African socialism, Steve Biko's black consciousness, Julius Nyerere Ujamaa. It is also Mbeki's African renaissance, all based on forging a unity of African people who are formed by the same history and must seek after common destiny. It is the architectural achievement from the pyramid of Egypt to the cities of Mapumbwe. It is the industrial invasion by Gareth Morgan, traffic lights, Frederick Jones, refrigerated trucks, and Alexandra Mars, automatic elevator doors. It is the cultural movement in jazz, R&B, reggae, funk, blues, kwaito, Juju Nigeria, Chimorenga Zimbabwe, Magosa Cameroon, and Berger Kenya. It is the novel Things Fall Apart, The Devil on the Cross, Maru, The Trails of Brother Jeru, Songs of Solomon, and Notes of Native Son. It is the artwork of Gerald Sepoto, Chige Anyako, Oche Okeke, and Monia Lewis, the religious movement of Bishop Lekanyane, Manku, and Shembe, the Coptics of Egypt and the Ethiopian Orthodox Christians, as well as Islamic denominations from Tunisia, Nigeria, Kenya, all deserve a place in the rich thinking and knowledge about Africa and its people. It is true that Pan-African call has also been prophetic, telling important portions that those who conducted the project for the rebirth of the African continent in the post-colonial context have not heeded to. In the pages of Frantz Fanon, Righteous of the Air, lays a critique which, since independent in the 1950s to this day, leaders of African people have failed to give programmatic response to this call. First and foremost, the Pan-African call is a call for African unity, not cooperation, collaboration, or coexistence. Many of you confuse the unity of Africa to mean collaboration or cooperation. We don't want to cooperate, we don't want to collaborate, we want to be one, and being one means we must share the same vision and the same direction. The men over the past half a century have chosen cooperation which has given way to neo-colonialism. That is to say, for African leaders to continue colonialism without direct rule by colonialists. The launch of the Pan-African Institute right here in Kenya must help us intellectually to shift towards revolutionary Pan-Africanism, contribute to resolving some of the historical mistakes, blunders committed by post-liberation movements. We should state clearly here that while the formation of the Organization of African Unity was a step in the right direction, the fact that the founding conference failed to unite the African continent is a historical blunder. President Kwame Nkrumah, Sekou Toure, and Emperor Haile Selassie prophetically said that the failure to unite the African continent will give rise to the neo-colonialism and that African continent will perish. The revolutionary Pan-Africanist ideological and political diagnosis of the future was correct. The future is here. 50 years later, we know that we remain visitors in our own continent. we know that our resources benefit Euro-American than our own people. This is despite most African countries gaining independence from colonial rule since 1957. Massive, huge tracts of land, our mineral resources, our animals, our oceans are still owned and controlled by the colonial masters. There are no countries in the entire African continent that have gained full economic emancipation and independence. And this includes Ghana, which was the first to lead the road. Till to date, it can't claim that Africans in Ghana own the means of production. In 2016 report titled The New Colonialism reveals that there are 101 British companies listed on the London Stock Exchange that control and identified $1.5 trillion worth of resources in Africa in just 5 commodities: oil, gold, diamond, coal, and platinum. This is a very conservative figure since it includes resources listed by only some companies. Many companies do not provide the figures of the resources they control. And majority of these companies that do not tell us what they control and what they own in Africa are found in DRC, because they are the ones who fuel the divisions in DRC, they are the ones who fuel the fight in DRC, and they are stealing the resources of DRC because they know there is no proper accountability for such resources. The War on Want report on neo-colonialism further illustrates that the fact that these 101 companies control and own the following key resources on our continent: 6.6 billion barrels of oil, currently worth $276 billion. They control 79.5 million ounces of gold, worth $119 billion. They control 699.3 million carats of diamonds, worth $134 billion. 3.6 billion tons of coal, worth $216 billion. 287 million ounces of platinum, worth $305 billion. These are the numbers that reflect British neo-colonialism in the African continent. I've not spoken about what French companies are doing. The Portuguese continue to play a significant role in the economy of Mozambique and Angola. The French continue to micromanage all the countries that were their colonies, except the recently liberated zones of Mali and Burkina Faso. Comrades, the French are brutal. To avoid that post-colonialism, they still make certain African countries to pay colonial tax to France. The French are brutal because some of their former colonies, their reserve banks are still in France. They are not in control of their own economy, yet they claim to have an independence. We, as progressive Pan-Africanists, must fully associate with and support all revolutionary actions of fighters who are removing puppets of French imperialism from political office and power. Not all these actions are revolutionary, because we must be careful of French-sponsored coups in Africa, where we think there is a revolution taking place in Guinea-Conakry, only to find that there is a French puppet who seeks to replace those who were there before. There is nothing revolutionary about the Guinea-Conakry coup. We ought to separate that there can never be a revolutionary coup that reinforces French imperialism on African soil. Anyone who comes into political office under the pretense that they are fighting a French puppet, while knowing they are the French puppet themselves, must be isolated by progressive Pan-Africanists. All French soldiers and military must leave the African continent, and this also should apply to neo-colonial military bases, including the African Command Center of the USA. We don't want the army of America, we don't want the army of France here, we don't want the army of anyone. We want African army on African soil. The Pan-Africanist Institute should therefore provide ideological, political, and technical weapons to all progressive forces of the African continent to fight against colonialism. There is a political trend that is being accepted by African heads of state and government, where one country convenes all 54 heads of African states and government. The United States of America, France, China, Russia, and United Kingdom convene all 54 heads of states and government for a meeting, and they all go following each other like Casey and Jojo as heads of states to listen to one head of state, 51 of them. Sometimes they disrespect them to a point where they put all 54 heads of states of Africa in a school bus to go and listen to one head of state. What happened to these men? Because all of them, majority of them are men. What happened to these fathers who go and bow combined to one man? Even if it's Putin, why would they all follow each other and go and listen to one person? What happened to their dignity and their authority as leadership? They must have leadership qualities to know that Putin is equal to them, that China is equal to their own single country, irrespective of their size, because what matters is sovereignty. And if China recognizes that sovereignty, will respect the president of that sovereign country as an individual. Kwame Nkrumah noticed this when he said that neo-colonialism also means the following: breaking up former large united colonial territories into a number of small non-viable states incapable of independent development. An external directed economic system and political policy, the state being obligated to take the manufactured products of the imperialist power to the exclusion of competing products from elsewhere. Payments towards the cost of running the state to ensure control over government policies, and foreign capital is used for the exploitation rather than the development of less developed regions. Governor, on my way here, we saw how the people here are working the land. We saw that there is no piece of land here that is not being utilized to the benefit of our people. But the question remains, where do these people sell these things? Because they can't consume all of them. Yes, they must produce to feed themselves and feed the whole Kenya and feed the continent and the world. Is the government buying food that is produced fresh from this soil, or do we have companies that are owned by white people in Nairobi who bring finished products into the land that is called products that can be bought directly from our own people? We say people must work the land. After they work the land, their own governments in Africa do not procure from those people. Because if it does not have a white color, they don't like it. Our leaders like their colonizers more than us. That's why they always seek after anything that looks like colonization. 10 years ago, we as revolutionary activists and visionaries from south of African continent started the revolutionary socialist movement and Pan-Africanist movement, the EFF, Economic Freedom Fighters. When we formed the EFF in South Africa, we told them that our organization is not for South Africa. Our organization is for all Africans. And we said this during xenophobic attacks of our people in South Africa. where people were being attacked because they come from outside South Africa. We chose to side with our people because we're necessitated by the fact that we love ourselves. And if you love yourself, you'll see a person from Tanzania in you. You'll see a person from Nigeria in you, because we are one people. We as the Economic Emancipation Movement did not only say we were Pan-Africanists. In one of our cardinal pillars, we said South Africa must engage in massive investment of economic development in Africa. Because if you keep on saying people are coming to South Africa, are looking for jobs, are going to take jobs from us, we can stop this thing of people coming to South Africa. How do you do it? Go and build massive economic development in African countries so that people can stay where they are and they can feed themselves from where they are. No one wants to leave his own home into some strange place. We leave our homes because we're searching for greener pastures. If there is an ESCOM in South Africa which is willing to give us electricity, but when it was well and still running according to how we wanted it, ESCOM had the capacity to electrify the whole of Africa. Why are you not going into the African continent and electrify the whole of Africa? Why is there no trading that moves from Cape to Cairo, making sure that trade in Africa and movement of goods and persons is eased? Because if we do that, there's no one who can leave Lusaka to go and stay in South Africa. They can get into a train, go and do what they want to do in South Africa, and come back home and develop their own countries. We must make sure that this Africa is linked together. We must violently demolish the borders that exist between our countries, because those are not our borders. You cannot worship a border between Tanzania and Kenya and come and sit in this hall and say you are a Pan-Africanist. A Pan-Africanist means the first task is to get rid of colonial borders so that we bring Africa together in practical terms. I don't know if President William Ruto means it, because he said so many things, and I can't locate him these days, because the things he said during election and the things he's doing now are two different things. I don't know. Because I heard him saying we need to do away with the dollar and build our own currency. But his actions are not speaking to anything of doing away with the dollar. The latest being putting a red carpet for a murderer, a person who killed the Kenyan people, coming into this country, receiving a red carpet and being saluted by our own army. This is not a Kenyan army, it's not a colonialist army. The Kenyan army is a product of the Mau Mau rebellion, and those who killed our people in the Mau Mau rebellion cannot be saluted by the same army of the children of those who were killed during Mau Mau rebellion. We have a duty to stay true to the cause. We have a duty to remind the King and Britain of what they did to us. Indeed, he shows no remorse. He says this was bad, it shouldn't have happened. But he runs short of, I apologize. I am sorry. He will never say he is sorry, for because he thinks that his race makes him superior and is not qualified to apologize to those who are junior to him. We call upon the Kenyan government to be fair and to decide what they want to be. Do they want to be Pan-Africanist, or do they want to be proponents of neo-colonialism? You can't have it both. Only one call must be made, and that call is of Pan-Africanism. It's not easy being a Pan-Africanist. For because the mindset of our people is so colonized, they are going to isolate you. They are going to look at you as if you are a mad person. They are going to look at you as if you are unreasonable. But it is a cause worth pursuing because of the generation that came before us. We don't want visas. We want one currency for Africa because our currency can be more powerful than the pound and the dollar combined. Because London has got the biggest storage of gold, yet they don't have a single smallest mine of gold. Their economy is based on our minerals. And if we safeguard our minerals and protect them and say out of these minerals, we are producing a currency that is going to compete internationally with other countries. We need African Central Bank. We need African Monetary Zone. We need African military combat because these pockets of wars that are happening in Africa are not of our own making. They are sponsored wars so that those who continue to steal our resources can do so uninterrupted as we fight ourselves, amongst ourselves. So we need a military, a common defense system, the African High Command that will ensure the stability and security of Africa. We equally need a binding African court to deal with dictators who only exist in Africa to feed their friends and families. Those people must be prosecuted the African way because ISIS is not meant to fight any crime, it's meant to pursue political fights. That's why ISIS will not declare a warrant of arrest against Netanyahu, but can declare a warrant of arrest against Putin, who has not bombed a hospital, who has not bombed a refugee camp, who has not declared a war on a certain ethnic group. We as a revolutionary economic emancipation movement also associate with what Guinea's president Sekou Touré said in 1963. He said, above all, we must avoid the pitfalls of tribalism. There is tribalism taking place in DRC. All our leaders have taken a platform to support or to be against this one or that one. They've spoken on Palestine. They've spoken on the war between Russia and Ukraine. But I'm still to hear the stand of President William Ruto about the ongoing war that is not covered by anyone in DRC, where people are fighting over territorial expansion and plunder of resources, and blacks are killing other black people, and we pretend that we don't see. It's important as leaders of states and governments to always condemn violence and war, especially if it's barbaric and informed by tribalism and unjustifiable territorial expansions. Before you can speak about other countries, charity begins at home. Let there be peace in DRC. Without peace in DRC, Kenya will never know peace. Because these rascals are going to learn from those wars in DRC and want to import them into Kenya. You have a duty to stop them there before they come into Kenya. Comrades, we will make sure the struggle of all immigrants, most of whom are economic migrants and asylum seekers, in South Africa. We will never. In South Africa, they say to us, if you want to be elected, you must declare war on illegal immigrants. And illegal immigrants, they mean Africans. We have refused as the EFF that we will never declare war only on any immigrant, illegal or legal. Illegal according to whose law? Because if you are illegal, you should have violated a certain law. Which African law did these people violate when they came to this side of Africa? Because they are still in the same territory of Africa. They are at home when they are in South Africa. We wish to tell them we're going to elections next year in South Africa. We wish to reiterate that, and we tell them all the time, if they want to elect us on the basis of xenophobia, they can keep their votes. We are not disparate for votes. We are disparate for the unity of Africa, and that's what we want to achieve in our time. Remove the visas as an immediate step, and I heard Kenya is going to do that by December. Perhaps I must come back here in December unannounced, so to test if indeed President William Ruto means exactly what he said when he said there won't be visas in December. Maybe I must sneak in and test without applying for any visa and just give them the South African passport and say I'm coming home. Mama, we want to commit in front of you and all the dignitaries who are here and the students that this Pan-African Institute will be supported by the EFF. We will ensure that indeed it has got a home in South Africa. We will not only support it verbally, we will put money into it. We will pay the staff members of the institute. We will also pay the officers of the institute, because we believe that we must speak one language as Africa. We will donate the books here at the university to ensure that every African writer has got his or her book in the Pan-Africanist Institute. Let's all spread the gospel. Indeed, it was not a mistake to launch it here in the rural areas, because no one must be left behind. If you can carry on your back the rural communities, you have no any other option to go anywhere except to go to the urban. But if you start from rural, there's no way you can cover the urban. But if you start from the urban, you are going to be reluctant to come to the rural. We are starting here to liberate our people in the rural areas, and we go to the urban to ensure that everybody hears the message. Tell President Ruto that the people of Palestine are what Mau Mau was. Tell President Ruto that the people of South Africa are what Palestinian people are today. Where our land get encroached, where our land just get taken, and we get killed on our own land, we get tortured on our own land, we get imprisoned on our own land. When we fight, they say we are terrorists. This Nelson Mandela you celebrate, for 27 years, he was in prison because he was a terrorist. What crime did he commit, which the Palestinians are not committing? His crime was to fight for the liberation of the people of South Africa and the oppressed world all over, including the people of Palestine. It can't be correct that President Ruto, knowing the history of this country and the history of South Africa, comes and tells us that it's with Israelites. Our war is not on Jewish people. Our war is not on pregnant women, Jewish pregnant women. Our war is not on Jewish children. our war is against the Zionist apartheid state of Israel. And that's what we are fighting. So, if he got money from some Jewish person, we are not fighting that funder of his. We are fighting the state of Israel. We are not fighting individuals. We are fighting the state of Israel. At the age of 9 years, the boys walked into my house and turned everything upside down, stripped my mother naked. When I see what those children of Palestine are going through, I can immediately relate that this is what apartheid looks like. We cannot be Pan-Africanist if we can't associate with the oppressed nation. Our Pan-Africanism is based on the basis that we are an oppressed nation ourselves. And everywhere else where we see an oppressed person, that person is our sister, that person is our mother, that person is our father, because we are not free until the whole world is free from imperialism and colonialism. I don't know if you will regret inviting me after this. But my problem is that I tell my truth as is. And I say it to authorities without fear or favor. Till today, no one has ever sued me legally successful. Till today, no one has imprisoned me, because you can't imprison or sue the truth. The truth will always prevail. Comrades, we must make sure that as we live here, our sympathy is with the oppressed people. Look at Cuba. Its crime was to choose a different economic system to what America has chosen. And then they are under more than 60 years of economic embargo. What crime did the people of Western Sahara commit against Morocco? We are at the center of speaking the truth as a Pan-Africanist institute, because we've got the ear of the continent and the diaspora and the whole world. And this organization we are launching today, Prof, will live forever and ever, because you only speak the truth yourself to power. And you always make us politicians to want to check if indeed we are still on the right track. So an institution established by a person like you, we are guaranteed that it will live for long and it will live for generations to come. That's why we are proud to be here. I was not brought by a plane here. I was not brought by a car here. I was driven by the spirits of those people who were dumped in the oceans. And when they were dumping them in the oceans, their cries are still crying loud till today. They did not dump them in the ocean only. They dumped them chained on their hands and their feet, and they could not fight. When the sharks were eating them in those oceans, they could not fight. Even if you know that today I'm going to die, but it is always good to die fighting. That you must hold the shark, even when you know it's going to swallow me. I must die fighting. Those people who died in the ocean said to me, you ought to arrive there. For because what you guys are going to start there is that which is going to seek reparations for us. As you leave this place and going back to your home, remember the people who died in the plantation, beaten, treated like dogs. Remember all of those slaves that asked for help and they never found help. But you must say to them in spirit, the help has arrived. And that help we declare today that will fight the battles of the heroes and heroines of Mau Mau, of Bambata Rebellion, asking reparations for all the suffering Africans have gone through because of colonialism. We must teach our people that we are not beggars. When we ask for reparation, we are not asking for donation. We are asking for what was stolen from us to be returned so that we can prosper and become a better nation. Thank you very much.
Let's settle. We have a small session remaining. Let's settle. Okay, continue. Thank you very much. Let's settle down. We want to get to a small session. Chief guests, Julius Malema, we want to unveil the Pan-African Institute. That's a small assignment that we have before we get to a cake ceremony where we'll be led by Highness, our Royal Highness. And the cake is already here with us. So I want to invite you to come and take us through this. And you need to be flagged by PLO, the Governor, Tula Kilonzo, Mr. Governor, the Chief Guest, to come and unveil the Pan-African Institute. I don't know whether you have a word for it. The Board of Trustees for Lukenya University kindly come. The Chancellor and even the Chair of the Council kindly join the Chief Guest in unveiling the Pan-African Institute. Yeah, we also have Senator Manzo here with us. Senator Manzo can also join us for the unveiling of the Pan-African Institute. Chief Guest.
Yeah, thank you very much. We now are at a stage when we formally invite the Commander-in-Chief, the Honorable Julius Malema, to declare the Pan-African Institute formally open. Juju.
Thank you very much once more, Prof. PLO, Lumumba, and all our guests who are here. Let me take this opportunity, Prof, to invite you to be on the other side and to officially reveal and launch the Pan-African Institute.
Thank you very much.
We'll now very quickly, and give the guidance, take photographs to remember this occasion by. Number one, the chief guest and the trustees.
Ceremony, sorry. Let's settle down, kindly, everybody. Just a small ceremony. Kindly settle down.
Could you kindly resume your seat in 2 minutes? We want to conclude in 2 minutes. In 2 minutes, we are concluding in a formal, proper way. In 2 minutes. In 2 minutes. And the order of events now is that we shall cut the cake in 1 minute. Then we move the vote of thanks in 30 seconds and we sing the anthems. Can we now? Will you? His wisdom of the elders can someday immortalize this occasion. Thank you very much.
I want to take this opportunity to appreciate everybody, and more important, the chief guest, Julius Malema, for having taken time to join us for this important occasion. And for you, Professor Lumumba, for choosing Lukenya University to be a place where the institute was to be housed. We thank you so much. I also want to thank all the friends that you came with from South Africa, and also our friends from other countries. We want to appreciate you for having created time to join us. We want to send greetings to you, to your wife, and your 3 children. And also your mother, Flora. Pass our regards to them, tell them that Kenya, as Kenyans, we are united and we are in Africa, and we remain to be there to support your ideology. I want to also appreciate the Governor of Makueni for creating time to join us. This is your university. So every other time we have a function around, kindly feel free to just pop in and come celebrate with us. Like tomorrow we have a very big ceremony of the university, the graduation ceremony. And we want to invite you, and I think you got some invitation. And also we have Senator Manto here with us. I think you joined us later after we have done all the introductions. And even all the MCS. Professor, you have been with us from the beginning of this university. I remember you launching the start of the university, and we want to appreciate you for that. I want to appreciate the Speaker of the County Assembly for having created time. We appreciate you for creating time. And all our friends of Lukenya University. The founder of Lukenya University, Mama Mulwa, we want to appreciate you so much for creating time. The BOT, the council, and more importantly also the chair of the BOT, Honorable Senator Sylvia Mulwa, for connecting us with Professor, and also all the student leaders and our students for having made this occasion a very big success. All universities represented here feel appreciated. We have Mount Kenya University, we have United States International University, we have also Pwani University. Thank you very much. Professor Atemo Michiega, we can't go without recognizing your presence. Thank you very much. All media fraternity, K24 designation is there, and also South Africa Broadcasting Corporation. I'm told they are here. Thank you very much for joining us for this important occasion. And all the organizations, we have BFC, Kwacha, RMS, BNL, Free Kenya, Unitech, NRF, KESA, kindly feel appreciated. And every other person that has taken time to come and join us for this occasion, feel appreciated. And as Lukenya fraternity, we want to welcome you once again to Lukenya. And our chief guest, Julius Malema, we feel excited to host you here. And to our students, I know they are also equally excited. And to learn that at the age of 90 years, you had already got into politics, you are a member of the ANC, then that is a great challenge for our students. I know most of them, especially those who are in student leadership, who even want to follow your steps. And you want to encourage them to read more about you and see how they become powerful leaders. Thank you very much, everybody. And at this particular point now, I want to announce that we have lunch for our visitors. We'll be serving lunch at 10. When you took breakfast, it's the same point that we'll be able to take lunch. For our students, kindly give our visitors time to have their lunch. I will be giving you dinner tonight. All the students, I announce I will be giving you dinner tonight. So give our students, give our visitors time to enjoy their lunch. The faculty, your lunch will be served at the coffee house. So that is where you should also have your lunch. Otherwise, I want to take...
When we fight, they say we are terrorists. This Nelson Mandela you celebrate, for 27 years, he was in prison because he was a terrorist. What crime did he commit, which the Palestinians are not committing? His crime was to fight for the liberation of the people of South Africa and the oppressed world all over, including the people of Palestine. It can't be correct that President Ruto, knowing the history of this country and the history of South Africa, comes and tells us that it's with Israelites. Our war is not on Jewish people. Our war is not on pregnant women, Jewish pregnant women. Our war is not on Jewish children. Our war is against the Zionist apartheid state of Israel. And that's what we are fighting. So, if he got money from some Jewish person, we are not fighting that founder of his. We are fighting the state of Israel. We are not fighting individuals. We are fighting the state of Israel. At the age of 9 years, the boys walked into my house and turned everything upside down, stripped my mother naked. When I see what those children of Palestine are going through, I can immediately relate that this is what apartheid looks like. We cannot be Pan-Africanist if we can't associate with the oppressed nation. Our Pan-Africanism is based on the basis that we are an oppressed nation ourselves. And everywhere else where we see an oppressed person, that person is our sister, that person is our mother, that person is our father, because we are not free until the whole world is free from imperialism and colonialism. don't know if you will regret inviting me after this. But my problem is that I tell my truth as is. And I say it to authorities without fear or favor. Till today, no one has ever sued me legally successful. Till today, no one has imprisoned me. Because you can't imprison or sue the truth. The truth will always prevail. Comrades, we must make sure that as we live here, our sympathy is with the oppressed people. Look at Cuba. Its crime was to choose a different economic system to what America has chosen. And when they are under more than 60 years of economic embargo. What crime did the people of Western Sahara commit against Morocco? We are at the center of speaking the truth as a Pan-Africanist institute because we've got the ear of the continent and the diaspora and the whole world. And this organization we are launching today, Prof, will live forever and ever because you only speak the truth yourself to power. And you always make us politicians to want to check if indeed we are still on the right track. So an institution established by a person like you, we are guaranteed that it will live for long and it will live for generations to come. That's why we are proud to be here. I was not brought by plane here. I was not brought by a car here. I was driven by the spirits of those people who were dumped in the oceans. And when they were dumping them in the oceans, their cries are still crying loud till today. They did not dump them in the ocean only. They dumped them chained on their hands and their feet, and they could not fight. When the sharks were eating them in those oceans, they could not fight. Even if you know that today I'm going to die, but it is always good to die fighting. That you must hold the shark even when you know it's going to swallow me. I must die fighting. Those people who died in the ocean said to me, you ought to arrive there. For because what you guys are going to start there is that which is going to seek reparations for us. As you leave this place and going back to your home, remember the people who died in the plantation, beaten, treated like dogs. Remember all of those slaves that asked for help and they never found help. But you must say to them in spirit, the help has arrived. And that help we declare today that will fight the battles of the heroes and heroines of Mau Mau, of Bambata Rebellion, of the slaves. This Pan-Africanist Institute must be at the center of demanding reparations for all the suffering Africans have gone through because of colonialism. We must teach our people that we are not beggars. When we ask for reparation, we are not asking for donation. We are asking for what was stolen from us to be returned so that we can prosper and become a better nation. Thank you very much.
very much. Let's settle. Let's settle. We have a small session remaining. We have a small session remaining. Let's settle. Okay, continue. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Let's settle down. We want to get to a small session. Chief guests, Julius Malema, we want to unveil the Pan-African Institute. That's a small assignment that we have before we get to a cake ceremony where we'll be led by our Highness, our Royal Highness. And the cake is already here with us. So I want to invite you to come and take us through this. And you need to be flagged by PLO, the Governor, these are government chief guests to come and unveil the Pan-African Institute. I don't know whether you have a word for it. The Board of Trustees for Lukenya University kindly come. The Chancellor.
On our own land, when we fight, they say we are terrorists. This Nelson Mandela you celebrate, for 27 years, he was in prison because he was a terrorist. What crime did he commit, which the Palestinians are not committing? His crime was to fight for the liberation of the people of South Africa and the oppressed world all over, including the people of Palestine. It can't be correct that President Ruto, knowing the history of this country and the history of South Africa, comes and tells us that he's with Israelites. Our war is not on Jewish people. Our war is not on pregnant women, Jewish pregnant women. Our war is not on Jewish children. Our war is against the Zionist apartheid state of Israel. And that's what we are fighting. So, if he got money from some Jewish person, we are not fighting that founder of his. We are fighting the state of Israel. We are not fighting individuals. We are fighting the state of Israel. At the age of 9 years, the boys walked into my house and turned everything upside down, stripped my mother naked. When I see what those children of Palestine are going through, I can immediately relate that this is what apartheid looks like. We cannot be Pan-Africanist if we can't associate with the oppressed nation. Our Pan-Africanism is based on the basis that we are an oppressed nation ourselves. And everywhere else where we see an oppressed person, that person is our sister, that person is our mother, that person is our father, because we are not free until the whole world is free from imperialism and colonialism. I don't know if you will regret inviting me after this. But my problem is that I tell my truth as is. And I say it to authorities without fear or favor. Till today, no one has ever sued me legally successful. Till today, no one has imprisoned me, because you can't imprison or sue the truth. The truth will always prevail. Comrades, we must make sure that as we live here, our sympathy is with the oppressed people. Look at Cuba. Its crime was to choose a different economic system to what America has chosen. And then they are under more than 60 years of economic empowerment. What crime did the people of Western Sahara commit against Morocco? We are at the center of speaking the truth as a Pan-Africanist institute, because we've got the ear of the continent and the diaspora and the whole world. And this organization we are launching today, Prof, will live forever and ever because you only speak the truth yourself to power. And you always make us politicians to want to check if indeed we are still on the right track. So an institution established by a person like you, we are guaranteed that it will live for long and it will live for generations to come. That's why we are proud to be here. I was not brought by a plane here. I was not brought by a car here. I was driven by the spirits of those people who were dumped in the oceans. And when they were dumping them in the oceans, their cries are still crying loud till today. They did not dump them in the ocean only. They dumped them chained on their hands and their feet, and they could not fight. When the sharks were eating them in those oceans, they could not fight. Even if you know that today I'm going to die, but it is always good to die fighting. That you must hold the shark, even when you know it's going to swallow me. I must die fighting. Those people who died in the ocean said to me, you ought to arrive there. For because what you guys are going to start there is that which is going to seek reparations for us. As you leave this place and going back to your home, remember the people who died in the plantation, beaten, treated like dogs. Remember all of those slaves that asked for help and they never found help. But you must say to them in spirit, the help has arrived. And that help we declare today that will fight the battles of the heroes and heroines of Mau Mau, of Bambata Rebellion, of the slaves. This Pan-Africanist Institute must be at the center of demanding reparations for all the suffering Africans have gone through because of colonialism. We must teach our people that we are not beggars. When we ask for reparation, we are not asking for donation. We are asking for what was stolen from us to be returned so that we can prosper and become a better nation. Thank you very much.